Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we're going to be talking about the upcoming pattern here for the next couple of weeks. I guess you could say the last half here of March. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social medias. Now, obviously, spring has really sprung here for a lot of the eastern United States, so for today's comment of the day, I wanted to know, what are you guys excited about for your gardening plans this year? If you have any, please share down below in the comments, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Personally, I bought some bare root, raspberry, and blackberry plants that I'm very, very excited about. Hopefully, those take off really, really nicely. Alright, now let's get started with the video though. So we see this is actually our temperature pattern from the previous 14 days, which is the entirety of our March so far, as of the time of making this video, which is March 14th. And you can see that we have a lot of reds showing up throughout a lot of the United States, with maybe the exception of some areas in California, the Pacific Northwest, and then a little bit of Wyoming there. Outside of that, it is all above average temperatures. Very, very warm. The last time I made an upcoming temperature pattern video or something like that, I called for a very, very big warm up here for the central and eastern United States, and that was maybe about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and that has panned out very nicely. Obviously, it's been very, very warm, and that was the last time we made any sort of video like this, and I'm hoping to go 2 for 2 here on these types of videos. So we're about to move on, and we're going to start taking a look at our future temperature pattern. We're going to take a look at what things look like right now, and then we're going to take it day by day, just like we always do, and just move on through the next couple of weeks. Alright, so here we are. This is going to be, well, probably a little bit earlier this morning. This was the first frame on this morning's GFS model run, so this is probably by like 2 a.m. last night, but really the temperature patterns haven't changed too much in the previous few hours. It just depends when you're watching this video. But you can see we do have warmer than normal conditions, especially down there for the deep south, and then up through the east coast, and a little bit of some of the regions there like Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, but those are a little bit more yellow, which is indicating a little bit closer to normal temperature patterns there. A lot of the coldest air is up there for the Rockies, the Pacific Northwest, and then the upper Midwest as well. And even through the Central Plains there, we have some below average temperatures as well. But then back up through the Southwest and a lot of the Four Corner states there, we have some scattered warmer than normal conditions and some scattered and colder than normal conditions. That probably has a lot to do with elevation, actually. So if you're in higher elevation, it could be a lot different than what the temperature pattern is looking like in some lower elevation areas. Let's go ahead and move on though, and this is actually going to be by tomorrow at about 2 p.m. And you can see things actually look a little bit colder than normal there for the mid-Atlantic, down and through some of the central plains. The deep south still holding on to a lot of that warmth though, and then as you head further north like the Great Lakes in New England, it's a lot closer to normal. Some blues, some yellows, pretty close to normal though. The Pacific Northwest is only getting colder here, and Northern Rockies, same story. As we see those purples and pinks, that's indicating the far below average temperatures. So yeah, really just cold there, especially there for, again, the Northern Rockies areas in Montana, and then even down through the West Coast. Now we're about to move on and head towards Monday, so we're going to be beginning next week and move through next week and just take a look at day by day what the temperature patterns are going to look like. Alright, so here's things by Monday at about 2 p.m. And we can see that it is pretty close to normal there for the mid-Atlantic. Some yellows, some blues, but really probably pretty close to normal. Some of the Appalachian Mountains look to be a bit above normal temperatures during the afternoon of Monday, but really nothing too crazy. The upper Midwest, we do have a cool down coming through. Dakotas, Nebraska, even portions of Minnesota, Montana, and Wyoming as well. Definitely cooling down here by this point. But for the Great Lakes in front of that, we definitely have some above average conditions, so it's going to be all over the place here. The deep south, you've been holding on to the warmth this entire time, so they look to be the warmest throughout this upcoming pattern, because it's just the most consistent there. The west coast is still below normal though, so definitely holding on to some of that cool air there for the western United States. Let's go ahead and move on towards Tuesday at about 2 p.m. and we can see California, Nevada getting even colder than normal. Again, for the mountains, probably could be cold, but Los Angeles probably won't be freezing or anything. But it's just going to be a little bit cooler than what you're typically used to. Rockies are warming up by this point, though. We see a lot of those reds out there. Same story for the eastern United States. We're starting to really, really warm up there. a lot of those shades that are kind of more neutral or pinkish, I like to call it. That's where we're probably at about 8 to 16 degrees above average. So this is the areas where we're definitely having some sort of a heat wave at points. Especially if we get the consistency day by day there. The deep south is definitely dealing with some of that heat wave type weather. 90s possible for some of those areas at times, especially for Texas and there for Florida. So definitely could be considered a heat wave there. Now we're about to move on and take a look at Wednesday, where we're going to start to see things really come together in the battle of the two temperatures. It's going to be very, very interesting as we head further into March here. All right, so as you can see, the deep south, the warmer than normal conditions actually head further north. North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, all taken over by these warmer than normal conditions. South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, you guys look to be the most flip-floppy, if you will. You go back and forth between cold and warm throughout this entire model run. I've been watching that very closely. You guys might come out of it closer to normal, even though you will have warmer than normal at times and colder than normal at times. You can see a lot of the Great Plains and the Rockies and the Four Corner states as a whole here have really just warmed up, as well as Oklahoma and Texas, I think especially in the Mid-Atlantic, the southern Mid-Atlantic as well. All of these areas have warmed up significantly. We have cold air making its way into the northeastern United States and the Great Lakes. I do not think that'll be very long-lived though, but by Wednesday morning we could be looking at some of that heading into the area. We see the western United States is still holding on to some of that cooler than normal conditions. So it's going to be very interesting to see if we hold on to that throughout the model run or not. It'll just have to be something we have to watch and see. By the time we reach about the afternoon time of Thursday, you can see that we have a big cool down there for Montana, Wyoming, and some of the Dakotas there as well. But we have a warmer than normal condition temperature pattern reaching into the eastern United States, with the exception of some of the Mid-Atlantic. It seems really weird to just have that cold blob there, but all the models are on board with that by the time we reach about Thursday. And by the time we reach Friday, a big time warm-up reaches the eastern United States as a whole. A lot of those pinks showing up, which again, the 8 to maybe even 20 degrees above average temperature zones. So definitely a big warm-up is possible by Friday. This is only 156 hours out, so definitely with only 6 days till then, we have a pretty good handle on what we think is going to be happening by that point. Big cool down behind it, though. The Dakotas, Nebraska, we see even Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Huge cool down with those pinks showing up. That's 12 to 28 degrees below average. So it's going to be a big warm up after big cool down here for the central United States. Again, definitely big flip-floppy pattern to say the least. Now we're about to move on and take a look at a few more days, and then we're going to start talking about what NOAA thinks, and then we're going to get into our comment of the day. All right, now we're taking a look at Saturday afternoon here, about 2 p.m., and we see that cool down actually makes its way eastward. We're going to see some of the New England states, Mid-Atlantic states, and even Southeast states start to get on some of these colder than normal conditions, and this is going to be by March 21st approximately. As we head further into the future, it's a little bit more uncertain. This is pretty much as far as I'm going to go. I'm only going to have one frame after this. I think it's possible that we'll have a cool down, but the models have definitely not been good with cooldowns this year, apparently, because we've seen tons of them in only the medium to short range, and then they just do not pan out. But, you know, it's about a 50-50 chance here on the models. If it shows a warm-up, it's almost certainly going to happen, but when the models show a cooldown, it's almost like they don't have a good handle on it. I think it's possible. I just wanted to show what this model thinks, but definitely take it with a grain of salt after what we've seen this entire winter time season. We see the East Coast. I guess the extreme East Coast is definitely holding on to some of that warmth. And then here, by the time we reach at about, this is about 8 a.m. on Sunday, March 22nd, you could see that we might be having a big cool down here for the central and eastern United States, but really the likelihood of this is probably below 50%. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what NOAA has to say about this one. So this is their 6 to 10 day outlook. This is going to be from March 19th through 23rd. We can see that they have the big warm up here for the southeast and basically the eastern United States as a whole, with the Midwest and then the Southwest having cooler than normal conditions. And then here's that 8 to 14 day outlook. Pretty much the same story, just a little bit less confident, but that's for the 21st through the 27th. Now for today's comment of the day, Xander Salia, sorry if I'm saying her name wrong. I asked what do you guys think my favorite NFL team is, and he was the second comment on the video actually and guessed it correctly. He said, "Great video, man. I think your favorite NFL team is the Patriots," and it sure enough is. And he said, "Great work, and I'll see you in the next video." Thank you so much for watching, Xander, and thank you everybody else for watching. Be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social medias. I will see you guys in the next video.